Thank y'all for coming to my resume workshop. So if you're here, you probably came here because you don't know what to do with a resume, you just want to refresh yourself, or you just have no idea what's going on. So Thrive Virtually sponsored this resume workshop, and I'm gonna be the presenter for you guys today. So just a little bit about me. I'm a lover of God, you know what I'm saying? I'm a husband and a father of two beautiful children. Right now, I currently am an avionics engineer for the U.S. Air Force. And I got my master's in electrical engineering from Worcester Polytechnic Institute in Massachusetts. I got my BS from North Carolina A&T, both in electrical engineering. And I received 5 internships from 4 different Fortune 500 companies during my time in school. So I got interviewed by many companies, and I had an opportunity to be able to choose from some of the best. And I also received many jobs outside of internships with being able to get my resumes out there and get the recruiters to see what they wanted from me. So let's keep moving forward. So in this presentation today, I want y'all to basically get a general understanding of the resume structure. I want you to be able to understand how to articulate your experience from previous jobs. I want you to understand how to make your resume stand out to recruiters. And I want you to understand why you should have multiple resumes. So hopefully after this presentation, you can take away some of these objectives. So these are some of the essentials that every resume needs. It may sound like common sense, but it isn't to everyone. So first, you're going to, of course, need your name. You're going to need an email. In 2020, the email is probably the most important part of your resume. You actually don't even really need a physical address on a resume anymore because nobody's going to mail you anything physically. You're going to get almost everything through the email, your job package, all of that. So make sure that your email is on your resume correctly because that could make or break you getting a job or not. And then if you're going to put your phone number, make sure it's reliable. The last thing recruiters want to do is call a number that goes straight to voicemail or doesn't work anymore, things like that. And also just the food for thought, don't have a unprofessional voicemail because that's also going to be a turn off to the recruiters. So also you need to have your work related experience. That will include what company you work for, like where the company was located, like the city and the state. You don't have to be super detailed, but the city and state usually is good enough. And the time in that position. So did you work from January 2018 to February 2020, you know, and then your duties and responsibilities at that job. You also want to have your education information, which would include your school, the degree you earned from that school or are currently earning from that school. Because if you're in college, you're not going to have a degree, but you can have it on there. And I can show you how that can be structured as well. You need to have your GPA. And if you're in grad school, you need to have your undergrad GPA separated from your grad GPA. You might as well do it because they're going to ask you to do it. So it's better to have it done now than have to do it later. And then you need to have the time of matriculation. And that just simply means what years did you go to your school? So I went to my school from 2011 to 2015. That's my time of matriculation. So also you need to have work related skills, you know, like Microsoft Office, Java programming, whatever your work related skills might be. That's also important to put on there. A lot of people don't include that and feel like they can just throw those things in at the interview, but you need to highlight that outside of what you did at your jobs, what can you do? What can you bring to the table at these jobs? So having a small section for your work related skills is also important. And an example after this slide, I'm gonna go into that a little bit more. And also, if you're in academia, like you're trying to be a teacher or a professor or whatever, you want to have a section for your academic related accomplishments. That's more of a niche thing, but there are some people who might be in academia who might need help with their resumes as well. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my resume as a quick objective, and I'm going to highlight some of those things I was talking about before. So hold on, let me make this a little bit better. All right, can you see that good? Okay. All right. So as you can see, I just simply have my name, my cell phone number, and my email address. Simple to the point. Make sure it's exactly correct, because if it's not, email is gonna bounce back and they're not gonna try to email you again. So you also want to have an objective. Like, this is really a toss-up for most people, whether you need an objective or not. I've had resumes with objectives. I've had resumes without objectives. It's really honestly up to you, but it will make you stand out. So it's better to have it than to not have it, but you don't need it to be super complicated. You know, I went straight forward. I said, I'm an experienced engineer with a master's degree. So you just kind of talk a little bit about yourself, and then you kind of highlight what you like. So you let people know, okay, I'm an electrical engineer, but I like this, I like this, I like this, and like that. So you just kind of give a small tidbit about yourself and objective. So when I was saying the education, since I was in graduate school, I separated it. So I have my undergraduate stuff here showing I went to North Carolina A&T in the School of Engineering. I received a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering, and my time of matriculation was fall 2012 to 2015. So as you can see, my final cumulative undergraduate GPA is 3.46 out of 4.0. So I might have said cumulative, and that is because I went to 2 undergrad universities. So my GPA is like a 3 something at Fort Valley, and it's like a 3 something at A&T. So to make it simple, I just used like an online calculator and put in all my GPA hours and the grades earned, and it gave me a cumulative GPA, which actually made me look better because when I initially transferred to my other school, my GPA was low because I got bad grades when I first started there. But when I added my grades I earned from my other school and put it all to a cumulative GPA, that helped me out. So that's just food for thought for someone who may be in a situation where they transferred. So when you go to grad school, your GPA completely starts over. So this GPA here has absolutely nothing to do with this GPA here. You're on a whole new plate. So I did the same thing. I said Worcester Polytechnic Institute, College of Engineering, Master of Science, Electrical Engineering. So I finished that. That was fall 2016 to 2018. So for my PhD, which I'm currently working on now, is similar, except I put a future date I expect to graduate on. It don't necessarily have to be true. This date has changed like 3 times for me, but it's still just to give a good projected graduation date. Because when you get internships or anything, whether you're undergrad or grad school, they want to know your projected graduation date because they want to have an idea of when you might graduate. And also a good tip to do, you can see that I bolded things like my PhD, Master of Science, because you want those things to pop out. So my GPA, what my degree was, what degree I got, those things I bolded because I want the recruiter to start reading out like, oh, they got this degree, so they can easily read it. So now we go to the next part of work-related experience. So I have different various types of experience. So this is the general format I use for myself and for many others. So the first part is the position. The title kind of gives an idea of what you did. So you want the recruiter to see something like that first. And then you don't have to put it here. You can put the time you spent there here, or you can put it over here. It's really your choice, but you need to say how long you worked there. So this is a current job. I was hired in June last year, and I'm currently working there. And I work for the U.S. Air Force, Robins Air Force Base, Warner Robins, Georgia. Straightforward. And I went into details on what I did there. I go into further details on some of this stuff later in the presentation. I'm just trying to give you a general idea of the structure. So now we go to the next section of skills. So this is what I was saying before. So these are jobs that I did, and this is the things that I did. All right, so these are the jobs that I had, and this is what I did there. So here's the next section of skills. So the skills are things that I could bring to the jobs and things I might have used in my previous job. So I know this, I know Microsoft Office, PowerPoint, Excel, blah, 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 I have all those various skills. Those are my technical skills. And then I separated it into professional skills as well. So professional skills like project management, leadership, anything that you can think of, try to put it in there because you need to separate yourself any type of way. So putting your skills on top of your experience is another way to step out. And the thing I was talking about with academia, so I'm in academia, I'm a PhD student, so my research and what I do is important to certain people. So I have a section for that. So all of my research competitions and my published research, things of that sort, that's where you would put in these sections right here. And then here's a section that's honestly completely optional. I had this section when my resume was like a baby resume and I barely had any experience, just to let them know I'm working hard, I just don't quite have experience yet. So this is a section you don't necessarily need that you can have. I just added it because I just had a little extra space on my resume, so why not use it? So we'll go into more detail on this stuff and later in the presentation. So let me get back to the PowerPoint. All right. So like I was saying on my resume, how do you tell a story on your resume? So you saw how I had bullet points. You want at least 3 to 4 bullet points. And those bullet points need to highlight these things. What did you do at the job? What impact did it have with the company? What accomplishments did you have while you were there? And then what education and certifications have you earned while you were at the company? So to go into more detail about that. So what did you do? I programmed computers. Okay, what was the result of you programming computers? I programmed computers and made them 1,000% more efficient. Okay, what is a possible accomplishment? I won this blah, blah, blah competition at the job, whatever. It could be anything. And then education. So lots of times jobs will pay for certifications in different education that you might want to pursue that's job related. So if you earn a Six Sigma certification or a teacher certification, or you get a degree that was paid for, that's something you can add on on your resume that you earned there. It shows them that you were an employee who went above and beyond and just didn't do the bare minimum. So that looks good to recruiters as well. Also, one thing you do not want to do, you want to try to remain from using company specific acronyms. So say for instance, you might be working for companies in the same industry, but when you use acronyms that are only for those companies, it could confuse the recruiter and it might seem like you're trying to be disingenuous with your experience. So try your best to refrain from using company specific acronyms if you can on your resume. Sometimes you can't help it. There's just industry specific acronyms and those are okay. Like everybody in the wireless industry knows what a YNet is. Everybody else might not know that, so that's okay. But you don't want to use no random acronyms like a SAM, which could be almost anything. Like, I don't know what a SAM is. I just made that up. And then the orders of your sections matter as well. So depending on what you're doing, so I would say your education should go first because they want to see that first. They can see, what are your credentials? Why should we hire you? What have you done? And then after that, you put in your experience and things like that. And really the order after that doesn't really matter. So let's do a quick case study real quick. So let's meet Joshua. The person I'm talking about name is not really Joshua, but we're going to call him Joshua right now. So this Joshua is a young man that I helped with his resume a while ago, and he really appreciated the help I gave him. He was just frustrated that he never received any callbacks from interviews. He was skilled. I know this because I actually worked with him on one of my previous jobs, but he doesn't know how to tell his story on his resume, and he didn't have essential information on his resume. So I'm gonna give you a picture of what Joshua's resume looked like before I worked on it and what it looked like after I worked on it. This is Joshua's resume after I fixed it. Let me pull his resume that he had before I fixed it so you get an idea of where he came from. When Joshua came to me, his resume looked like this. He just had his name, his address, phone number, email. An objective, he at least tried that, but he had his work history, but he had absolutely nothing that he did there. If I was a recruiter and I saw this resume, I'm like, wow, if he put this much effort into his resume, I'm pretty sure that effort is going to reflect his effort at the job. So this type of resume is a no-no. You know, he did good at least putting all of his experience, his education. He had a good general setup, but he didn't put any type of experience. And also another note to have, I would not include references. In the modern job industry, references are almost never used. Like I used to keep a reference section and just say references available upon request, but I've got to the point where I don't even include it because it's usually never needed half the time. So that's a thing that is really up to you. So here's his resume before I took a look at it. And then here's his resume after I took a hold of it. So those are all the same positions that he had on his previous resume, but I added this information right here. So, you know, I said he safely drove clients to and from appointments, assisted customers in and out of vehicles, provided quality customer service. So this job right here, it's a driver. You can't really fluff this. You know, it's straightforward. You drove people safe. You didn't crash. You were helpful, blah, blah, blah. You can't fluff that. But his next job, this is a job I actually worked with the young man. So this stuff right here, I didn't make this up whatsoever. I literally went to the job site and I'll actually show you. This is a good trick to populate your resume from your old jobs. I'm gonna go ahead and show y'all this real quick. So here's a job description from our old job. It was called Retail Sales Associate, now it's called Mobile Expert. But basically, here's what you do in your roles. Help your customers pick up right where they left off in their shopping journey, whether online, exploring individual needs, hands-on demonstrations of the latest and greatest technology in store, side-by-side selling, finding personalized solutions, bare bones device, and service plan to keep your customers connected, lifestyle they love, including anything from unique accessories and coming up. So here's the general things that they say that you're gonna do. So all I did on his resume was take that and put it here and just change up the words to sound more resume-like. So literally, if you read it, I actually put it side by side so you guys can see it better. Hold on. What is that? That's in the way. Where is it at? All right, here it is. So provided quality customer service to include assistance with purchases, suggested selling, and provide product information. What does this say? Help customers pick up right where they left off in their shopping journey, whether online through customer care, exploring individual needs, providing hands-on demonstration. That's essentially the same thing. Built and maintain an understanding of store products and price information to assist customer purchases. I'm basically just regurgitating what it said. So this is a great trick to take your old experience and put it on your resume and make it just seem like you just did all these amazing things when you know all you did was sell phones to customers. But it's not about what you did, it's about what it looked like you did. That's what resumes are about. And then even when he worked at Wendy's, I literally just went to the Wendy's site, saw the job description, and I just took that and I just made it resume like. I mean, you can't really fluff Wendy's too much, just like their driver job, but stuff like retail sales associates and other jobs, you can literally go to those sites, use their descriptions, and you can just go crazy with it. So yeah, his resume was pretty good, straightforward. He was mainly missing the meat. So let's go back to the presentation. So what do job recruiters mainly look for when hiring? So when you have your resume, the things they're looking for is how applicable is your resume to how applicable is your experience to the position you're seeking. So when you make your resume and it's just really general and you don't have any information, the recruiters aren't going to know, like, was the job he did before going to help him with the job he did now? That can be the make or break to determine whether they feel you're valuable enough to pay you more, or they don't know if you know anything and they'll just pay you the starting salary where you're at. Also, the ability to work independently in team environments. I know that sounds weird, but let me frame it like this. So you're going to work in team environments in almost every job you work at, but that team still has independent functions to it. So they want to know that based off your experience, like, okay, he's a good team player, but when it came to the stuff that he had to do by himself, he did that well too. So you got to look like a good team player, but you also got to know how to shine on your own. Another thing they look for, especially when you're looking for like a manager position or you're trying to move up or whatever, because you're going to need to give your resume at your own job if you're trying to apply to another position within the company. So if you're trying to move up to manager, you know, they're going to see leadership experience. What did you do in your current role that would show that you're a leader? So I led a training that helped this blah, 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 or I trained this new associate for blah, blah, blah. So that's showing leadership experience. That's showing that you are equipped to take that level of responsibility that leaders need to have. Also, problem solving experience. There's a lot of things that standard operating procedures in companies don't have for different situations. So showing that you solved problems that the company couldn't think of, or solving difficult problems on your own, that makes you seem really, really valuable. Also, the ability to make processes more efficient. Like, can you save them money? So for instance, at one internship I went to, I saw that they had a process that was dumb inefficient. It was taking way too long. I created a process where it could be done like 50 times faster, and I saved them about like $1 million in that process. So if you can say things like that, like, oh, I took this way we've been doing it at this job forever, and I made it easier for everybody, blah, blah, blah. So that's a good thing to have. All right, so I'm gonna go back onto my resume and I'm gonna give you a picture of kind of the things where I showed those qualities. So my first internship, I was a freshman in college. So this one's kind of dry, but people aren't going to judge you for your old experience like that. Just do what you can. Like, I didn't do much, but I made it sound like a lot. So I project management, led and assisted projects to a foreign board level initiatives. That translates to I sat in meetings with big wigs and I may have said a thing or two, but that's it. Analyze data and IT tickets to help increase work efficiency. Literally, I just went through their old IT ticket, saw things that happen a lot, and I said, okay, we need to create something to address these things before they happen. Didn't do anything special. Develop interactive program to increase safety for planes and mechanics and technicians. All I did there was I created some type of system where they scan their badge and it lets you know this part of the plane is dangerous, and it scans their badge to see if they had the credentials. Didn't do nothing special, but I made it sound amazing. So second internship, this is when I first finally got my bearings and I finally was able to do a little thing. So your second internship or your second job is going to usually be much better experience-wise. So project management. So I manage multiple projects in the dynamic post-acquisition integration environment. So I know that sounds super fancy. So actually, full disclosure, all these experiences right here, I actually had a HR intern that was at my internship with me, turn my experience into these fancy things. So really, this first one literally says, manage multiple projects in a post-dynamic acquisition and integration environment. Basically, the company I worked for at the time was getting bought by another company. So I basically said I did my same projects while we were getting bought by somebody else. That's all I did, but I made it sound amazing. Create an interactive database to enhance project quality, operator efficiency in the plating line. I looked at their old data, saw that after this part does this thing too many times, it's going to get serviced. If they don't look at that right, that part going to be out when they need to do an order. I didn't do nothing fancy. You just got to just make it sound good. And let me see, creative productivity. So I just did simple things and I just made them sound good. So let me see. So this is another internship I got. So for instance, what did I do? I set up and worked in a virtualized test environment. What was the impact? I set up this. So this is another thing right here. This is a company-specific acronym. You probably don't know what that means, but in the field of telecommunications, most people would know what that means. So I did these things. This was the impact of what I did. I set this up. What was the impact? This was the impact of what I did. What did I do? I exposed you to working within the lab and test environment using agile process. I assisted in data center management. I'm not really doing anything special. Nobody at any job really does anything special. It's just what it seems like. That's all this stuff is. Do you look good on paper? Now, what you do in an interview is something completely separate from all this. All this resume does is help propel you to eventually get to that interview. And maybe in the future, I can make a workshop on how to tackle the interview and everything as well, and how to tackle career fairs. But right now, we're just going to focus on the resume. So where's the internship at? This internship, I really fluffed what I did. Let me see. Yeah, so analyze data to determine quality trends and possible past, present, and future issues with all GM in a program. So to GM, General Motors, that sounded absolutely amazing. But all I did was I looked at their old warranty data. What was the impact of that? When I looked at their old warranty data, I helped determine the fault of those warranties, and I was able to help GM save, what was it? $1.8 million worth of claims. Yeah. Reviewed their warranty data and helped them save $1.8 million. So what did I do? What was the impact? So to have an example of like what education did I get? So my second internship with GM, I took advantage of the training. So I got my green belt certification training. It was free and I got paid to do it. So basically I spent a week in a class that I was getting paid to go and get some education to make me more valuable at their job. So if I would have actually took the green belt certification test and passed, they would have to pay me more. So they paying me for training and to give me certification that's going to get paid more. Take advantage of any free education they give you because you got to get paid more. Let me see what else. And yeah, it was just other little simple stuff I did. So this is just a general idea of what I did in my internship. This is my current position right here. I just kind of just looked at one of my coworkers' resume who works the similar position as me, took his stuff and made it applicable to what I did. So that's pretty straightforward with a resume. It's not about what you did, it's about what you look like you did. So yeah. So the importance of tailoring your resume for the job you want. So it makes you seem like a more serious candidate. If you have a resume that just says, I cashed out people at the register, I cleaned up, I did this. They're like, okay, but this job has other functions. Or, you know, when you also have your resume tailored to the position, they're going to see you did that research and they know that you want this job because you made that extra effort. It makes it also seem like you're committed to an industry. So when you go through the effort of making your resume fit specifically for that company you're working for, it makes it seem like you're a committed employee. And retention is extremely important because last thing these companies want to do is have you for that first year and a half, train you, and then you leave and go somewhere else. They wasted all this money on training and ain't getting nothing out of you. So you want to seem like you're committed. Even if you ain't actually committed, that's none of their business. You just want to seem like you're committed. This like resumes is just like trying to get after a girl. You want to make yourself look the best way you are. But guess what? By the time you get in a relationship, they're going to know who you really are. But when you're trying to court somebody, you try to make yourself look the best way possible. And also, of course, you stand out from other applicants that have bland resumes that aren't going above and beyond. Like everybody wants to do the simple click to apply, you know, submit the resume, was it to 100 companies. But like I said, you have more chance of getting a job submitting 3 tailored resumes to 3 companies than sending out 100 untailored resumes to 100 companies. I guarantee you have a better chance of getting a job. So let me give you an example of tailored resume. So I have 3 general versions of my resume. I got multiple versions of those, but I have an education resume. So I have a resume for education. So if I was trying to apply to be a professor, or when I'm trying to share my research with other people in my field, this is the resume I give them. When I'm applying for corporate jobs, like the one I work at now, this is the resume that I give them. And then when I was looking for retail jobs while I was in school, or when in between these corporate jobs that I have, this is the resume that I have. So we already seen my corporate one. So we're going to go to the education one real quick. All right. So as you can see, it looks pretty similar. The reason that I took off my PhD at the time because I had dropped out of my PhD and this is all I had. So this is an older resume, but I haven't updated in a while. So it's pretty straightforward. So I actually added other jobs that I did that I didn't put on there. So I was an adult-based education teacher. I was a teacher for about a couple of months. So that's more applicable to my education side. I was a research assistant while in school. That's more applicable. I was also an undergraduate research scholar, supplemental instructor, research assistant, information technology intern. Basically everything that dealt with education, this is my education work related experience. And then here's my professional stuff. So this is all the same stuff pretty much from my corporate resume, all the same things. But the thing is, this is a CV. So when it comes to education, they do what's called curriculum vitas. So curriculum vitas don't follow the standard one-page resume setup, which is actually not what people even care about these days anymore. But a curriculum vita can be as long as you want it because people are in academia for years and years, and there's no possible way you can put everything on one resume. But I feel it's the same way when it comes to regular jobs. If you have multiple jobs that are applicable to the position you're hiring, I don't care if it's 3 pages, put it on there. Because if it goes with the job, they want to see it. But if it's just like you worked at McDonald's, you worked at Subway, you worked at this, and now you're trying to work for a Metro PCS, they don't care that you worked in fast food. Them jobs don't mean nothing. Don't put that on your resume. So you need to tailor the resume to what you're applying to. So the CV also, has the skills, the publications, things of that sort. So now let's go to my retail resume. So my retail resume is a little old too. Let's see. So it's pretty similar. So I have some of my internship experiences on there that I had on my previous resume, but I also have my other experience. So when I was a retail sales associate at Metro PCS, this is really good to have on here. I actually need to add my Best Buy experience because this is an old resume, but this is the type of things I put on there when I'm applying to Best Buy, when I'm applying to any type of, regular jobs like that. I also put, my really, really old experience from 2011 working at Staples. Staples and Metro PCS, it looks really good when you're applying to Best Buy. So I tailored this resume specifically for that. I didn't want to add all that corporate experience. I only added the corporate experience that had stuff that was applicable. I was applying for Geek Squad. So all my IT-based stuff, it made sense to put it on there as well. So it's short, sweet, to the point. I don't have all the extra educational stuff. I just put my skills. This is a short, sweet, to the point. So if I'm applying for somewhere like Best Buy, this is the resume I go with. So of course my resume is going to be different if I'm applying to Best Buy versus another company or whatever, but just giving you the general idea of why you should tailor your resume to what you're doing, because it just makes you stand out and it makes you more likely to get picked. So that was pretty much everything. I know it was kind of quick and all that, but I wanted to leave enough time for questions. So does anybody have any questions at all?
I do.
All right, what's going on?
So at what point do you think it's necessary to remove internship experience? And I guess it's more personal for me because at this point I was told to remove it since I've been applying internally, and my internships actually still apply to this same company, but I've been told to remove it. So I see you still have stuff back to like 2011.
Oh yeah.
When
So
do you would remove it?
So who told you to remove it? Is it the person hiring you or is it somebody you work with who's giving you advice?
I've had managers tell me that.
Hiring managers or just managers?
Hiring manager and my own manager at the time.
Okay. Well, from my experience, it's been completely different. I've been to many career fairs. I've gotten my resume critiqued by thousands of professionals at thousands of different companies, and they've been perfectly fine with my setup. Most of this knowledge isn't mine. This is knowledge that I've gotten from different career fairs and different conferences that I've attended, and nobody's had a problem with that. They say as long as the experience is applicable, you should keep it. But however, if somebody is telling you specifically to remove it at your job that you're applying to and their managers, I would just take their advice. That's just straightforward. Like, just use wisdom on that. But as a general sense, if you're applying somewhere else, keep all of that applicable experience. So that's my answer to that.
Okay.
Any more questions? In there, you ain't got nothing?
Anyway, no questions here. No questions here.
Okay.
Great presentation, bro.
Okay, Rachel, you don't have anything that you want to ask? Okay. Okay. All right. Well, this presentation is gonna be recorded. So Ende, the part that you did miss, you can go back and get that. I'll send all of you guys the link to this whenever I, chop it up and get it together. But thank you all for coming. I wish more people would have came. Like I want to get this knowledge out to us. We all work from home now. We all looking for new jobs. So I thought I could do this to give people a little extra helping hand. And I do offer resume services. So if you do need help getting a resume done, or you need me to just make your resume look good, like I did with my friend Josh, I still offer those services. I mean, I feel like I offer fair prices, but it's really up to you. But hopefully this general knowledge I provided you guys will be helpful to you, and maybe you can pass it to others. Like, we need to all be in this together, as everybody is saying.
Thank you. It was a great presentation.
Alrighty.
All right. Well, you guys have a blessed night, and y'all take care.
All right.
All right, bye.